Hey there, folks. You're listening to MWM podcast movie series. I am Maddie Dawson, and today I'm going to talk about an interesting horror mystery movie called The Forest. So, The Forest is a Netflix movie. It was released in 2016. It's about 1 hour 35 minutes, and IMDb rating is 4.8, and Rotten Tomatoes is 10%. As you can see, it's a very low rated movie. But I decided to watch it because the poster was kind of intriguing, and the name itself, if you see the forest, something to do with the forest happening inside the forest. So I was interested to explore this movie. So I decided to watch it, even though the ratings were low. So yeah, let's get into the story. So The Forest is a movie that is set in American movie that is set in Japan. So that's interesting, right? So it's mostly happening in Japan. So there is a place called Aokigahara Forest in the Mount Fuji, near Mount Fuji in Japan. So this forest is kind of real, and people go to this forest or go inside this forest to commit suicide. So it's actually a real life story that happens in Japan, and that's how they base the story. So Jess and Sara are twins. So, as you know, the protagonist of the movie is a popular face, Natalie Dormer, who is from, I think, I haven't watched the series, Game of Thrones. Yeah, she's famous from Game of Thrones, right? So, I haven't watched Game of Thrones, but I heard that she's a popular actor from Game of Thrones. So, she plays Jess and Sara, the twins. And the difference you see is like one of them has white hair and another has the black. So I mean white in the sense, what do you say, kind of not aged white, but then the other white. So yeah, this is the only difference between them, and we mostly see Sarah, who's in America living with her fiance Rob. And in the beginning of the movie, she's been informed that her sister Sarah is kind of dead, because in the sense she went into the forest, and after that nobody could see or hear anything from her. So they presume that she's dead, because people go inside this forest only to commit suicide. So that's why they inform Sarah that, possibly your sister is dead. But Sarah doesn't believe. So Jess is like a teacher in Japan, and she comes back to Japan, and she kind of talks to people in the school, and she goes inside the forest. I mean, goes to the forest, and she basically tries to investigate herself, because she doesn't believe that Jess is dead. Her sister, twin sister Jess, is dead, and she comes all alone from America. Checks with people in the school, and then she decides to go inside the forest and check out herself, because she feels, as a twin sister feel, she feels that her twin sister is not dead yet. So there is a hotel near the forest, and they are advising her against to, you shouldn't go alone inside the forest. But then the hotel, at the night, she meets someone who's like a journalist, and yeah, Aiden. So he is actually doing a report on the forest and its suicide, basically what happens in the forest, with a guide, Michi, local guide Michi. So he's also Japanese. So he kind of listens to Sarah's story, and then he decided, like, why not, you can come with me, I have a guide, so we'll give a search. And these three, Sarah, Aiden, and Michi, they go into the forest. And Michi, the forest guide, he says that, possibly, it's been like more than 2-3 days, so Jess is dead. So but then Sarah says that, no, we are twins, and I have this feeling that she's not dead yet, because if she's dead, I would have come to know somehow. So I believe that she's still there. And then they try to search the forest. So they come across this tent which has the belongings of Jess, and Sarah is so happy that she found something. And her confidence is more now that Jess is somewhere nearby, who's not dead. And it becomes evening, so Michi advises that let's get back, and tomorrow morning we can come back. But Sarah is like adamant, no, I'll stay here. And then Aiden also, the reporter, he says that, okay, I'll stay with her tonight. And they decided to stay in the forest, inside the tent. So in the night, she hears some sound, and then some small schoolgirl, she kind of runs into Sarah, and then she says that don't believe Aiden. So we kind of start suspecting Aiden now, the journalist. And Sarah is also very skeptic. and the next day they try to wander and they get lost and a lot of things happen, and basically she starts doubting Aiden, and then she runs away and she sees some haunted stuff. So she has this background, right? Both Sarah and Jess, so their parents died in an accident, and whenever she recollects it, she says that I didn't see that, but Sarah went before me, and I mean Jess was before me, and then she saw. So it's like from childhood she's the one who's seen all the suffering and the ugly things in life, but just as the just the other sister, but she has been saved from all this. So she used to close her eyes and turn away from all those negative things. So she has taken all the negative stuff and she's been covered. Sarah has been saved from seeing all those stuff. So she sees that, so she always gets into trouble and I have to come and save her. So it's how it's been from childhood. So she kind of, whenever tells her about childhood, we see this. So it happened, it goes like this, where they try to find. She's very adamant that Jess is alive, and she starts doubting Aiden. And then it's kind of late, second night, second day, it also turns dark, and they run into this basement station, and she starts seeing stuff. So it's kind of spoiler now, but yeah. So Sarah starts seeing stuff, and towards the end we see that Jess is alive, and she ends up being saved. What happened to Sarah, the sister who came to save Jess, is the question mark that I leave it to you to watch the movie. And yeah, there's a lot of jump scares. So they have kept a lot of artificial jump scares, I would say, not natural or sticking to the story, but a lot of artificial jump scares. So it scares you, but then you feel okay, it was not necessary. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to watch because it is set in the forest with a backstory, like I said, a real life story, right? So there is Ekogihara forest in Japan where people go inside to kind of suicide. But then like there's a controversy on this movie, like they have kind of trivialized or cliched those concepts. So that is something very sacred in Japan, I guess, to leave the soul as it is. So they call it Yuri, a demonic ghostly figure, Yuri. So they say that inside this forest there will be a lot of Yuri, and they'll change your mind, starts making you see hallucinating and see some unreal stuff, and you'll end up committing suicide because of that. Not just you wanted it, but then you're being manipulated by this Yuri and the situation inside the forest that you end up committing suicide. So it's kind of like that. So as I said, the reason the ratings are low is because there is no point in creating a character which is not shown for a longer duration, and in the end it's been like I said, Jess, we see Jess hardly in the flashback. Like she's been in Japan and she's working as a student, I mean teacher, and then she is like, for some reason she went into the forest, like some kind of character development they have done. But for the whole movie we don't see the twin sister, but at the last moment we see her and she's saved. And what happens to Sarah is like kind of not acceptable, I would say. So she's been our protagonist for a long time, 1 hour 35 minutes, almost like 60 to 70 or more than that. She's been our anchor for the movie, and it's kind of simply writing of a character that we are looking forward to. And yeah, there is not much emotional connectivity. We kind of feel that she's really affectionate, and they have this twin sister bonding, but as the movie shows only the Sarah side, they don't show the Jess side, right? So we see only Sarah's side. So it's difficult to build that emotional connection with the protagonist. And also this hallucinations and stuff, it kind of confuses you and gives you doubt, but it's something that's annoying. So we are not clear like what's happening actually. So and with all these what do you say, artificial jump scares, it gets kind of boring at some point of time. But the moment, I would say, the 45 minutes in the beginning, from the moment like she hears the news and she comes to Japan and then she goes inside the forest, so things are really interesting. So that kind of gives the vibe that it's going to be a good horror movie inside a forest. but then after that it's kind of beating around the bush. You're just going on and on in the same circle, and we tend to get disappointed. So that's where I feel writing could have been better, could have used the twin sister concept or twins concept more strongly rather than weakly. And cinematography and all was so good. They had captured the forest in a brilliant way, and performance wise, it's very less. The scope was less. I mean, I can't say that it's bad performance, but there was no scope for acting. So because of the writing, there was no scope for acting. So it's a brilliantly shot movie. The forest and the music. Music is also good. So, but then because of the poor writing, the performance have been let down, and we see you'll feel like you watched basically watched a good. You don't even feel like you watched a good horror movie. You just feel that you watched a decent movie that is set in the forest. And yeah, so yes, it's available on Netflix, and it's 1 hour 35 minutes, I said. So you kind of, if you're really bored and if you want to go inside a forest or something, then I think this is a good movie to watch, because they take you inside the forest. Only that the story and the writing is not good. So you will definitely feel that you are inside that Japanese forest. And it's kind of like, it's movies are getaway, right? So we may not be able to travel to Japan and visit this Mount Fuji or places, hotel, how the culture is there, and especially forest trip inside a different foreign country. That's really a huge thing for a lot of people. So I think this forest movie kind of gives that getaway adventure with mild horror and mystery and poor writing. So do check it out. It's available on Netflix, 1 hour 35 minutes long, starring Natalie Dormer from Game of Thrones. She's the twin sisters, Jess and Sarah. So yeah, the only differentiation between the twin sisters, I said hair color. So they could have done something different. So they just wanted to make a horror movie in forest, I guess, and they did a very below par job. Cool. I hope you enjoyed this episode on MWM podcast movie series. The Forest, 2006 American film that is set in Japanese Ehogokikara forest, and interesting movie. Yeah. I'll catch up with you in another episode. Until then, you are listening to MWM podcast movie series. This is Maddie Dawson signing off. Bye bye.